the Disclosure Day film being released. We're going to go over the secret hidden agenda behind this film and go over the symbols and what is it all about. We're seeing the Bucks in this film play a huge role, just like we saw symbolically in the Obama film, Leave the World Behind. Now, this film, the next one, will be about the alien abductions by one of the first abductions with the Betty and Barney Hill. Now, this hasn't been released yet, but you can see the New Hampshire UFO, and they're not the first to be abducted, but they were one of the first, maybe the second. And they were part of a hybrid breeding program. At least that's the story of them, the hybrid breeding programs. And this film being released by Steven Spielberg, who did Close Encounters. Close Encounters was coined by J. Allen Hynek, who wrote Project Blue Book. And when we go back to when the UFO craze happened back in the 40s, the 1947 flying disc craze, it started in June and July. And it was Kenneth Arnold who was the one who gave us this famous image of the flying disc, even though this flying disc falling like a leaf has been reported in the 1800s, I believe, with Fortean phenomenons. So this happening in June, I believe, is why this film is coming out in June. They picked a strange date to release this new movie, Disclosure Day, on June 26th, I believe. I think that's the day it is going to be. Oh, no, June 12th. I think that's the day it's coming out, on June 12th. 6/12/26. And I believe that's why. It's because that UFO craze started in June, around that exact same time. So we're going to dive deep into the symbols of the trailer that was released. But before we start, please smush that like button and share the video out. And put a 1 in the comment if you could hear me okay. Also, I was just on the Higher Side chats, and that's premiering now. So make sure to click that link. I got it pinned in the comment section, and go subscribe to the Higher Side chats. We go over a ton of information that is also correlated to what we're going to be getting into today. Thank you for putting the 1s in the comments. Looks like you can hear me. So, the Age of Disclosure. Now, this film is called Disclosure Day. The Age of Disclosure was just released, where it's pretty much like all these government officials saying the UFO is here. The disclosure is here. But this is all a psychological operation to keep you focused on one or two narratives. And one of those narratives is the closer encounter of the first kind. But even when we look into this magazine that predicts the future, The World Ahead 2022 was released right after the big lockdown. And in this edition, it went over the importance of UFOs and National UFO Day and the octopus aliens from Europa, the European octopus aliens, which could also be a psyop as well. And maybe they're coming from the Sargasso Sea. So, also, this being based in Kansas, as you see right here, Kansas City, behind the lady Emily Blunt, I believe, who is doing the Illuminati hand symbol. Yes, It doesn't have to be an exact pyramid pointy yoni. Hillary Clinton does this a lot. This was revealed in a lot of textbooks on Illuminati, that hand symbol. But it also, I watched a couple videos that were decoding this trailer, and they were saying that this is connected to Bashar, who does this channeling, and it goes into like hyperdimensional realities and beings and all that. But it being placed in Kansas City with this forecast where this meteorologist is getting channeled by some sort of alien force. And we're going to get into it, where I don't even think this is about aliens, this film. I think this is actually about the psychotronic weaponry, which we'll get into, because it's showing symbols of this different technology that was used in the Soviet bloc, of this kind of orb harvesting technology. So she gets taken over in Kansas City. Well, Kansas City is a huge UFO hotspot. I believe they call them flaps. And there was all these airships in Kansas City, and I mean all over the place, but Kansas City, Kansas, they get orbs there. They get all this stuff like we hear about Roswell, but Kansas also has played a long history. And here is the Kansas Topeka issue of March 29th, 1897, where they're writing about the Omaha UFO. Omaha sees the ship, the airship viewed the third time. Omaha, March 29th. The mysterious airship was seen again last night for the third time by a number of Omaha reputable citizens. And this date, March 29th, is also Kenneth Arnold, who his birthday's March 29th as well. This is always part of it. And he's the guy who gave us this UFO imagery. And that's why we dedicate National UFO Day to him on June 24th, which is also, I believe, connected to the Knights Templars, because it's John the Baptist Day as well. So no mistakes there. And Steven Spielberg is one thing, but he's not stupid. That's what Jordan Maxwell would always say. And Jordan Maxwell was probably helping Steven Spielberg write out some of his scripts for movies. I wouldn't be surprised about that. He kind of hinted at that, in my opinion. Just my opinion. But Steven Spielberg, I knew something big was going to be coming up with him, because he did the introduction to the Olympics ceremony. And even in this Olympic ceremony, he says something big's coming this summer, but he was hinting at the Olympics. But maybe he was actually hinting at his new movie, which I think is what it's all about. I think that's what all that stuff's about, sort of. But Steven Spielberg, he made Gremlins, Close Encounters, Indiana Jones. He was part of all these projects. And whenever you see a bunny rabbit, this is from Gremlins, the bunny's always next to the UFO, right? E.T. He made E.T., the extra testicle. And they're sitting next to each other in the closet because the bunny is correlated with the UFO. That's why all this UFO stuff was being released during the year of the bunny. We're entering the year of the horse, but the year of the bunny. And we're going to have Bad Bunny performing at the Super Bowl. So it's going to be very connected to some more alien stuff, as the largest interstellar simulation of space defense is happening now with the third eye atlas, the 3-eye atlas. This is all connected. Just like Indiana Jones is a true story about a man named Waddle. And there's a reason why the National Socialists went to Egypt, because Jordan Maxwell did his research. Here's Indiana Jones about the Thule Society, the Atlantis Society, the Hollow Earth, and then you have all the National Socialists in that film. It's telling you something that is true. And here's Close Encounters, Steven Spielberg, which has a lot of symbols in it and some prediction. And they got a ket symbol. This is the symbol of the Denver airport, where they have Lucifer. And I'm getting a lot of my information, just finished wrapping up Closer Encounters book that goes over all of this. I've never studied the alien stuff ever. And this book really got me caught up, on all this different UFO information. And it's all in my head right now. So it's perfect to cover this new film coming out of Disclosure Day. And you should check out the trailer. It's pretty good. It looks like it's going to be a fantastic film. Flying saucers over Cincinnati. This is part of that craze that started in June. 850 UFO cases reported in the wave of 1947 starting in June. And that's why this movie is being released in June. People are wondering, why is it being released in June? Disclosure Day trailer offers first look at Steven Spielberg sci-fi alien film. Well, it definitely looks good though. Right here is the website. It's very mysterious. It doesn't even tell you the plot, doesn't tell you anything about it. And all we get is the symbols. What are the symbols? You got this cardinal, you got the eyeball, and we'll get into what I think it is from the research I've been doing. So Brown University is in the news, where there was this tragic event that happened at Brown University. FBI probes new video could bring clues in Brown University situation going on. Thought that was interesting because Jim Halpert, he works with probably, I think, the CIA. He plays roles. Usually they get actors to play the roles of who they actually are working with. And he's married to the lady, I believe this is Emily Blunt. Now, I don't really know actors well. I know the Office actors, but not all the other actors. But Emily Blunt, he's married to. And John went to Brown University. So I just thought that was kind of interesting, since that's prevalent in the news right now, this 7th oldest higher education system. Now, just pointing that out. I'm not saying there's a solid connection there or anything. Just kind of weird, like all the stuff that's happening in the news right now, like the MIT professor who was deleted at his home in the Boston suburbs. He's 47. Oh, and even in Gematria, the bus in the film right here says KC, the news report that she works at, KCXE4 equals 47 in Gematria. That's the Euclid's proposition of the 47th degree compass, the Masonic compass. But MIT is pretty much the deep state. So the MIT is where John Trump, President Trump's uncle, got the Tesla time traveling technology from, right? You got all of Tesla's documents, and Tesla patent a lot of UFO airships and like uh, technologies of free energy, right? And the guy funding him, Astor, was deleted on the JP Morgan ship of the Titanic. And JP Morgan was also interested in this free energy because he didn't want it out there. And I'm not wicked smart, but I'm learning about this stuff. But Ashton Forbes was showing how it wasn't just this guy who was taken out, who was studying this plasma free energy technology, this fusion technology. Another guy was studying the same type of technology, and he was taken out as well. Not the first MIT fusion scientist to meet a tragic end. In 1989, Eugene Malov blew the whistle on the cold fusion cover-up by the donut and MIT. After anomalous excess heat was reproduced dozens of times, in 2004, he was found brutally deleted in his home. So that is strange. The director of MIT's Fusion Lab researched nonlinear phase mixing and magnetic reconnection. State-sponsored hit is not out of the question. So even Tim Pool is talking about this. Now, this is, I got to bring this guy on. That'd be great. But because I working on getting wicked smart. And he shared this other thing about tragedy at MIT and the plasma quantum computing kind of physics thing. This guy was given a presentation. The guy who was deleted in his home just recently, he was giving a freaking presentation and he skips through a slide real quick. I think it's this slide. It just goes for like 1 second and goes to another slide. Like he skips through it really quickly. Here, I'll play it real quick. He just skips over it. And was he trying to tell us something? You see, he showed that really quickly, this plasma technology thing right after it. So I don't know. It's kind of interesting because this Glock, this UFO, these UFOs that have been written about and talked about and documented are part of like this whole energy type system, 0-point energy system. And here's Tesla's patents back in 1927 of UFOs that he's working on. And here's the NIMSA airships, which goes into very occult stuff. And it gets even crazier. Go check out the podcast I did with the higher side chats that I have linked, because THC goes over some information that is wild with these connected to Trump. It's crazy. So this film is really showing some religious type symbolism. Right in the beginning, it shows some symbolism. What I thought was interesting, and I could be tripping, I don't know, but right when I looked at this, it looked like this wiggle made it look sort of, maybe it's not connected, but what is this wiggle? I don't know, maybe I'm getting too crazy with it, but this is a big part of the whole UFO thing from my investigations with the Vatican funding the movie Men in Black 2. And the more I read about it, I'm like, why did the Vatican fund Men in Black 2? And what it went over was because what they're telling us is because when the aliens do arrive, they want to convert them. So I swear, I mean, that's what I was reading. But after reading some more information about this topic, that I'm new to this topic, so, but there's this thing called the Majestic 12, the MJ-12, and they are like part of the government. They're kind of like, hey, we're here to save you. We're the government, but we're the good guys. And it's sort of like that kind of story. And they're like, what we're going to do is tell everyone that the aliens are demons. And so like even that like story that I've heard a lot of people say that, and I'm like, oh, that makes sense. Aliens are demons. But that is coming out of this like government thing, that narrative as well. And then you get Tucker Carlson saying he was mauled by demons and he worked directly his family line with the, you know, intelligence agencies of the CIA. And right before he told us that a demon was scratching him, and I mean, he was putting out all the UFO files. That his big main focus before the demon files was the UFO files. So this is all in a script. It's all a freaking script for different. Everyone gets a different script. People that watch Fox News get Tucker Carlson to brainwash them. Somebody who listens to another, you know, mainstream outlet gets another one. And now everyone thinks just because they're not on the television screen and they're on your cell phone now, that they're not part of the establishment. They're here to give you the truth. That's also in this hinting at it, how thirsty people are for the truth. So it's a very, very short trailer, very mysterious, well done. And they show this guy saying they're coming, they are starved for the truth. He's just talking. They're like, we're going to wake up the world. We're going to disclose to the world all at once. Because everybody's like, oh, nobody's waking up to anything. People are more asleep now than they've ever been, in my opinion. But this ties back to even ancient times with UFOs in Renaissance type paintings and even narratives, even the plagues and all that are tied to people seeing dragon UFOs in the sky before things happen. And here's the Men in Black. The Men in Black are in the Matrix, and the Men in Black are, you know, all over the place. MIB. What I thought was interesting is that there's also women in black as well, not just men. So this lady, she's doing that Illuminati hand sign. An alien takes over her. Somebody was pointing out that this Bashar guy who channels an alien named Bashar, he does the same hand sign and makes the same noise that she's making. So there might be a solid correlation to them. But the channel I was watching, breaking that down, was saying how they change. So they're hyperdimensional. So that was like what they were saying. I don't even really know what that hyperdimensional. I understand like a hyperdimensional portal. But looking at this like like the shape shifting, and I think that's why they have the cardinal bird in there. So this lady shape shifts right there, changes. And that's a huge story with the aliens, how they shapeshift. And they shapeshift into animals. Usually not a cardinal. It's usually an owl. So I wonder why they choose the cardinal. I don't know. But these reports show that the aliens shapeshift into octopuses and mantises and owls. Owls is the big one. And so having this bird there, this is what I think. No one knows what this film is going to be like or what it's about, but this is what I think is about. I think it's going to have some of that shape-shifting stuff in it. But you got the deer, the buck, the birds, and all that. The Sampaku eye. So I think that these might be like the little robots communicating with them, telling them what's up. Here's the cardinal symbol. Um, I think that kind of looks like a UFO, the Saturn hat. But here's the Cardinal Stadium where they have the Super Bowl and the recent Charlie Kirk Memorial at the Cardinal Stadium. So I think that the cardinal symbol means something, and maybe they gain channel through these things. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But the camouflaging is part of the reports out of the Skinwalker Ranch. So she's talking to the news, and it's talking about the drop in temperature. And she's a meteorologist looking at these temperatures and all that. But this is also a big part of the psychological operations is the climate stuff. Every movie you see of aliens, it's always connected to the climate and how we're terrible humans. And here's just another image when she's getting taken over. And here's a guy watching the takeover. And it's important to look at like the time and all that. It all means something. But he's using a satellite phone. That's a satellite phone. So when the grid kind of doesn't work, you're able to connect to a satellite. Or if you're out there hiking and there's no Wi-Fi or whatever you connect to, this will connect you to it. Satellite phone. And everybody's watching their TV and their phones, except for her. She doesn't care. She's like, whatever. And he doesn't care either. But everyone else is like, what's going on? Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. It says free right there. And then everybody on the plane is looking at their phone and watching her get taken over. And then they show you the nuns watching it. And she comes out as like, I know what's going on. I've seen this before. And then you got all these people with their phones or cameras. Yeah, the camera phones. And I was pointing out here, KCXE4 equals 47 in Gematria. And then they cut to this guy right here who's working at this big kind of NSA type system. They're showing here on the screen North Korean rebels seize Pangong. So I wouldn't be surprised. We haven't heard from Rocket Man in a while. You know, I'm sure Rocket Man is going to make a comeback in 2026. Here's a prediction because they're showing us this in this big film. North Korean rebel sees Pangong nuke. Pangong nuke. Right? We haven't heard Rocket Man in a while. So this is the big thing right here. I think this is what the whole movie is about. I don't even think it's about aliens. I think it's about this system of the psychotronic system. That's what I think it is from reading this book and diving into this research. So he holds on to this thing and they're able to remote view and take over other people's bodies when they're hooked up to these orb harvesting type systems through these electronic. So Psychotronic, there's so much disinformation on it where the word psychotronic is like the soul, the psyche, the mind, and tronic makes it sound like electronic. So it is how the Soviets didn't want to say the word parapsychology because it's connected to the occult. And that's what I was reading in Closer Encounters. And I'll play a clip from my review I did on what I'm talking about real quickly so you can see what I'm saying, how they're taking over through remote viewing people where they were able to make them do stuff. And so that's what's going on here. So like he's connected, and then he slams his hand, and then this little girl slams her hand. So they're showing you that they're taking over people's minds and bodies through this system. And I think that's what this movie's about. And I think that's how she got taken over a little bit. But I don't think she got taken over by this evil guy. I think she got taken over by this guy who's working with her to expose the truth. We're going to disclose the truth to everyone. They need to know. But then I think there might be a little bit of alien stuff in it as well. And here is the crop circle that's being formed as he's there. And these crop circles are formed by the orbs. And in Kansas, they have the orbs spotted there in a lot of the research. As you could see, she has the same machine thing that they're using. So she's channeling somebody, it seems like. But this is purely speculation. But look, she's friends with all the different animals. So the animals might be the actual aliens in it. And then there's the two factions of people. So that's what I think it is. We'll see how wrong I am or how right I am. Shout out to Gone Grey Wolf. We did a video yesterday going over the Rick Reiner. Is that his name? He pointed out, or she pointed out, that there's a lot of double letter deletions this year. Ozzy Osbourne, OO. Hulk Hogan, HH. Rick Reiner, RR. K. Kleiman, KK. And this movie is called Disclosure Day, DD. So double dose of this pimping right there. And we almost got over 1,000 people up in here. I like to remind y'all to please smash that like button, share this video out. And thank you so much, Witzius, for the $5 super chat. Let's feed that kitty cat to get him wicked fat. I appreciate you, Witzius. Very kind to you for your support. And please go over to the Patreon to watch some more of the research that we're doing over there. It supports this channel if you like it. We also got YouTube memberships too, which has videos up there playing. Here's The Economist magazine. I inverted it and flipped it around, and you got this little octopus creature there. And also go watch the Higher Side Chats. I'm on there now. It's being premiered. And you got to hear THC's information on the NIMSA airships. Anyway, it's Donut. Much love and God bless you.